Hey everyone, and welcome back to Zero Escape 999, where last time we searched everywhere we could to try and find Snake, but we just could not find him anywhere. It is extremely unfortunate, but he's clearly not in any part of the ship we can access. I don't know how he got to a different part of the ship. I'm assuming is the only explanation that makes sense, because we searched pretty thoroughly. But we spent enough time looking, we're just gonna have to move on and hope we find him somewhere, wherever he is. So, it is time to pick which door we're going through. Ace has chosen to sacrifice himself. He's knocked himself out with an anesthetic, so he cannot be going through any doors. And he did this because there was no way to split up the group so that everyone goes through doors. At least one person had to be left behind, so he volunteered to leave himself behind, which is very, very noble of him. So let's see, which door should we pick? We have doors 3, 7, and 8, and the remaining people that can go through doors are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That group has a digital root of 6. So if we go through door 3, that'll leave 3 left over, which they can't go through any doors until door 3 is cleared out. So that's going to be an interesting struggle. If we go through door 7, that'll leave a remainder of a digital root of 8 for the rest. And if we go through door 8, that'll leave a digital root of 7 for the rest. So if we go through 7 or 8, everyone can go through the doors all at once. If we go through door 3, it's going to have to be one group, and then the other group once the door is no longer engaged, which I assume means once the first group to go through is free and clear. So, we have some choices to make here. Which door do we want to go through? I already know which door I would like to go through personally. I think I'm going to be going through door number 3. I want to go through door number 3. No, you can't. Huh? Why? Because it's impossible. If we split ourselves into 3 and 3, then we give up on going through door 3. Why? The bracelet numbers for the 6 of us are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. There are 2 combinations that can go through door 3 with 3 people. 3, 4, 5, or 6, 7, 8. That's it. Of course, 2 teams can't go through the same door. I see. That means one team would get left behind. At least until the door is cleared, right? The doors get cleared once the team's gone through. Or do we not? Do we know that? Is that something? Is that something I'm guessing, or something that we know? Because we know that when the 9th man went in and he died, the room said vacant afterwards. But is that because he died, or is it because there was no more living people in the room? That's right. That doesn't happen if we go through door 7 or 8? Nope, I just went over that. No, they're fine. We've got 3 options. Santa began to explain. Plan A, go through door 7 with 3, 5, and 8, and go through door 8 with 4, 6, and 7. Plan B, go through door 7 with 4, 5, and 7, and go through door 8 with 3, 6, and 8. And Plan C, go through door 7 with 3, 6, and 7, and go through door 8 with 4, 5, and 8. Okay, so let's see. That would put Junpei either with Santa and Lotus in Plan A, with Clover and Seven in Plan B, and with with Clover and Lotus in Plan C. Hang on, did I read that right? Clover and Seven in Plan B, Santa and Lotus in Plan A. Okay. There's not a lot of options here, is there? Those are the only 3 options. That's it. At least if we wanted to get all 6 of us out of here. That was when Junpei realized. Plan A divides into 2 teams, 3, 5, 8, and 4, 6, 7. Plan B divides into 2 teams, 4, 5, 7, and 3, 6, 8. Plan C divides into 2 teams, 3, 6, 7, and 4, 5, 8. Yes, we just went over this, Junpei. What did you realize? There was one thing they all had in common. In every single combination, 5 and 6 were never on the same team. Oh. We won't be with June. In other words, if all 6 people were to move forward, Junpei and June would be separated. June and Junpei had been friends when they were kids. He trusted her more than anyone else on the ship. If he chose 7 or 8, he'd be taken away from her. I mean, we didn't go through the first set of doors with her. I'm sure it'll be fine, but it does suck that we don't get to catch up with her much. Was that something he was prepared to do? Anyway, that's the deal, so think it over. You've got 2 choices, 7 or 8. You can't choose 3. If you choose 3, you're gonna be leaving 3 people behind to die. So what are you gonna do? 7 or 8, time to choose. Junpei thought hard. After thinking it over, his conclusion was... We're going through door 3. I'm sorry, Santa. But I think I'm right. I think a second group can go through after we're done in there. Sorry, Santa, but I still want to go through door 3. What? That's nuts! You've got to be crazy. Why the hell are you so obsessed with that door? I'm just... Junpei paused. He swallowed the words he'd been about to say. I'm just curious about door 3, that's all. That doesn't explain shit! I've got a reason. I'd be happy to explain it to you if you'll just come with me. With that, he began to walk towards the door. Their curiosity likely getting the better of them, the others followed. A few of them looked a little suspicious, but Junpei told himself that wouldn't matter. He kept walking and kept silent. Eventually, they arrived at the number 3 door. Junpei stopped. I'm curious about the red. 7, would you mind authenticating for me? Huh? Why? Please, just do it. He stared at Junpei for a moment, then grunted and laid his palm heavily on the scanner. Happy? Yeah, thanks. The number 7 had been entered into the red. Next is June. Please touch the red just like 7 did. Junpei, what are you trying to figure out? Junpei thought about his answer for a moment. I think I might have found another way out. Huh? I've got the same question. Are we thinking the same thing, Junpei? What? Really? That got them excited. Just as Junpei had intended. Now, please, June. Okay. 7 and 6 is 13, 1 and 3 is 4. With those two numbers in the red, Junpei had what he wanted. He casually placed his own hand on the scanner, and the third asterisk blinked on. 4 and 5 is 9. Alright, the only people who haven't authenticated now are Santa, Clover, and Lotus. So, what's your point? You don't get it? Think about it. What's the sum of your number and Clover's? 12? And what's the digital root of that? 3. Which is Santa's number. By the way, Lotus, what's the number that's currently in the red? 7 and 6 and 5 is 18. It would be 9, right? Ah, Junpei, I see what you are doing. That is insidious. Yes. And what will the digital root be if you add 3 to that? 3. The door's number. There you go. Hey, wait a minute. What the hell are you up to? I'm not up to anything. I'm just waiting. Waiting for what? I'm waiting for the balance to shift. Santa, or Lotus and Clover. Once one of you moves, the others won't have a choice. So I'm waiting. Junpei laid his hand almost casually on the lever. You son of a bitch! You tricked us! Then all that stuff you were going on about is all bullshit. Bullshit? I don't think so. Didn't I tell you I'd figured out another way to get out of here? This is it. Why the hell would you do something like this? Junpei glanced at June. Junpei? You did this just so you could go through the same door as June? That's it! Santa was furious. His face was red and flecks of spit flew from his lips as he spoke. Junpei closed his eyes calmly and then opened them again. So, who's it going to be? Santa or Lotus and Clover? Shit! We're going! Clover! Lotus leapt forward. She grabbed Clover by the sleeve and ran for Junpei and the door. Caught by surprise, Santa froze for a moment, then shot forward like a bullet from a gun. Lotus had a head start, but Santa had the advantage in size and speed. Almost immediately, he passed Lotus and Clover. No! Wait! Santa did not hesitate. Ugh! He slammed his hand down on the red. This is insane! This isn't right! He glared at Junpei, his chest heaving. Yes, well, you may be right. Junpei's voice was cold, but not without effort. He turned to the red and pulled the lever. With the sound of metal on metal, the door opened. It would only remain so for 9 seconds. There was no time to think. Go! Junpei and his 3 reluctant companions jumped into the door's gaping mouth, one after another. No sooner did they enter than an all-too-familiar noise sounded from their left wrists. I gotta say, Junpei, that was a dirty trick. Because now we've left 2 people behind. If I'm right, we could have gone through 2 groups of 3 and been fine, right? The detonators had been activated. Junpei looked back only once and saw Lotus and Clover on the other side of the closing door. They stood still, stopped where they had been when Santa reached the red. The defeat and desperation on their faces tore at Junpei's heart. Then the door closed and they were gone. This sucks. You son of a bitch, Junpei, this isn't fair! Santa rounded on Junpei, lightning crackling in his eyes and his knuckles white. Do you realize what you just did? You leave them out there and they can't... Shut it. That's enough. It hadn't been Junpei that spoke, but Seven. We gotta find the dead or none of this is gonna matter. The clock was ticking. The dead was their only chance of survival. Unless they could find it and deactivate their detonators, the 4 of them would be... We got less than a minute left. No time for screwing around, get moving. They scattered and began to scour the room. Where's that dead? The deactivation device was nowhere to be found. Corridors stretched out in 3 directions, but every one was blocked off by a wall of metal. There was only one way out. One other door. There! Seven ran for the door, a rusty iron thing. His large hands grabbed hold of the handle and pulled. The room inside was pitch black. They could see nothing beyond the small patch of light that spilled through the doorway. Junpei stuck his head through the door and looked around the room. Almost immediately, he spotted the blinking red light on the right wall. I found it! The dead's right over here! He stepped into the room and nearly fell down. The floor was slippery. What? He stopped and glanced down at his feet. What was... Hey, what the hell are you doing? Get over there! Junpei felt Seven's heavy hand against his back and stumbled across the room. Love navigating in the dark! The other 3 piled in behind him. They all felt immediately that something was wrong. Nothing that could be easily identified, only a sense that something terrible shared the room with them. Oh good, it's a horror game now! I mean, it kind of already was, but there was no time to say so. Quick! Get to the dead! They all started running. In the dark, it was hard to tell where the wall was. All they could see was a tiny red light blinking at them over and over and over. Then, finally, suddenly, they were there. In a quick succession, they all slammed their hands against the scanner panel. Ah, thank goodness. Okay, I'm not doing the panting for everyone. I don't know if I could do the panting for everyone's voices. Seven leaned against the wall, gulping air. As his breathing began to return to normal, he glanced at his left wrist and grunted. Okay, so let me think. If I'm right about the two groups just going in and they just have to wait, we would need two groups of 3, each with a digital root of 3. We've got 3 to 8. So if we do Santa is 3, plus 2 to make 9, we could do Clover and Junpei. That would be a group of 3 that makes a digital root of 3. Then the other 3 can go through. Yeah, no, that was the only... They listed that earlier. That's the only 2 ways that you could do it. 3, 4, and 5, or 6, 7, and 8. It would have to be those 2 groups, one after the other. It was possible. We could have done that if the door does become vacant after we're through. I guess we won't know now. Seven leaned against the wall, gulping air. As his breathing began to return to normal, he glanced at his left wrist and grunted. It stopped. It stopped. Junpei could hear him laughing in the dark, but could barely make out the larger man's face. What the... Santa? You okay? The sound of retching came from Santa's direction. What happened? What the hell is this smell? This is vile. I'm gonna puke. So desperate had they been in their race to the dead that no one had noticed the horrible smell that pervaded the room. I don't like this. It was a terrible, nauseating stench like a burnt and rotten meat. Adrenaline had drowned it out, but now it rolled over Junpei in waves, forcing itself into his nose with every breath he took. He felt his stomach clench and bile rise up in his throat. Let's get the lights on first. There's a switch over here. The light that spilled in from the door barely illuminated a small switch plate next to the door. Slowly, with the toll of the last few minutes apparent in his gait, Seven walked toward it. He stopped as he got close and extended his fingers toward the switch. I don't like that! I don't like anything about that! There was a soft click as the lights came on. It had scarcely faded when another noise pierced the air. A scream. Eee! Junpei's breath stopped in his throat. His heart ceased to beat. Time froze. His mind scrambled to make sense of what he saw before him. What was left of the body sat in a sea of blood. Chunks of flesh torn from the body sat in the blood like tiny islands in a great red sea. A vast, ragged hole had been torn in the torso, and what remained of his intestines spilled out of it like fresh spaghetti. Don't describe it like that! What is wrong with this game? Oh my god! Smaller chunks of meat had splattered against the wall and become stuck there as they dried. Globules of yellowish fat had left trails like tiny slugs as gravity pulled them down the wall even as they dried to it. Looks like an explosion. Seven's voice was low and strained. But who exploded? Just like the ninth man. The detonator in his bracelet set off the bomb in his gut. There's only one person it could be. Oh no. Oh no. It looked as though the explosion had been quite powerful. His legs were both bent in an odd, unnatural way, and his left arm had split open, exposing the painfully white bone of his ulna. His bracelet lay next to him. It seemed to have hit the wall hard enough to have shattered the display, which lay on the ground in pieces. Half of his head had simply collapsed. The blood coating almost made it look like raw pizza dough covered in tomato sauce. Stop it! Why? Why? Why, Junpei? Do you look at dead bodies and think about food? Why? His clothes, too, were covered in blood. The burgundy tie, the white shirt, the jacket with the yellow piping, and the gray slacks. They were all familiar to Junpei. Is that Snake? Santa's voice wavered as he spoke, his mouth dry. Fuck. Oh my god. Finally, Junpei spoke. Why did this happen? No! Suddenly, June was screaming, her voice broken. It was an eerie scream, full of insanity and not entirely human. No! 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 She shook her head violently and grabbed fistfuls of her own hair. Oh, June. Oh, no. Junpei could only hear the sound of hair tearing. No! Stop it, June! He grabbed for her wrists, but as he did, June leapt up and ran toward the exit. Please, get me out of here! You have to let me out of here! She screamed at the door and her fist slammed against it with a hollow sound. Junpei could see drops of blood on her knuckles. Oh, June. Why are you doing these horrible things to us? What did we do to deserve this? She screamed again, a desperate, mindless cry. Her fist flailed against the door. Get me out of here! Please! Please, just let me out! Junpei couldn't watch anymore. He ran to June and wrapped his arm around her, pulling the screaming girl away from the door. No! Get off of me! Let me go! Let me go! She scrambled for a moment, her legs skittering across the floor, but her resistance didn't last long. As suddenly as her outburst had begun, it was over. The manic energy disappeared and her body went limp in Junpei's arms. Oh god, Fuck. I can't say I would react much differently. God, June, I'm so sorry. Thank you, Junpei, for trying to help her. June collapsed toward the floor, and Junpei knelt down with her. He felt drops of something warm and wet. Was she crying? A moment later, she began to sob. Her shoulders shook and great hot tears rolled down her face like rain. We're gonna be fine. It's gonna be alright, June. It's gonna be okay, Connie. Her name was a whisper. I'll be here with you, okay? She nodded once. Thank you. Thank you so much, Junpei. Her trembling voice pulled at Junpei's heart. He stroked her hair gently. His face was so close to her. The scent of her hair was nostalgic. Do you feel better? Yes, but I'd like to stay here. For a little while at least. Junpei's body is so warm. Several minutes passed before June's tears had dried. Junpei stood up. He bent down, put his arms under June's, and helped her to her feet. You feeling any better? They didn't speak. Neither did Seven or Santa. A person was dead. They had died in that room in a terrible way. Junpei knew there was no way he could make himself forget that. There was no way any of them could forget it, but mourning would do no good. They spread out to search the room, but each felt as if their heart was made of lead. And I think that is where we will leave it for today. Next time on Zero Escape 999, we're going to be searching for an escape from this room. Hopefully, we can get out of here and get off this ship. Find a way to get back to the others, help them get through as well. I don't know, maybe we can find a way to get back to them and help them out. I don't want to just leave them behind. And Clover deserves to know about her brother. Oh, she's gonna be fucking devastated. Oh, this is not gonna be good at all. And that's assuming we can get back to them, but this ship's so locked up tight. Next time on Zero Escape 999, we try to find a way out of here. We need to escape this ship. We need to get every single person out of here. I'll see everyone next time for that.